Viva the undying spirit of Comrade Naledzani Mashapa, viva. Viva the undying spirit of Comrade Joe Masitera, viva. Comrades and compatriots, I'm sorry for such a less than inspiring tone, but this is one of those moments, one of those very difficult moments, a moment that should have been very easy. To speak about someone would need no introduction or validation. For a giant whose reputation precedes himself or herself, but in this instance himself. But that is not very easy, because such transitions are difficult to navigate. Yes, we have to accept it's irreversible, but it is very, very, very difficult to navigate. Yes, his mortal being, yes, his bones, his body and everything will be laid to rest, but his ideas will never be laid to rest. They will never rest. They will continue to inspire 100 generations. I forgot who said this, but one of our revolutionary giants and Matthias, who passed on many years ago, once said that the artist may die, especially when he's an artist of such dangerous art as the international revolutionary struggle. But what will not die in any way, form or shape is the art to which he dedicated his life and to which he devoted his intelligence. Comrade Naledzani Mashapa was that kind, is that kind of artist. His ideas, his inspirations, his intelligence, his engagement, even his mistakes will continue to inspire the international solidarity struggle. I remember when I was still SANSCO's publicity secretary, before SASCO was formed. But then SANSCO Limpopo was SANSCO Northern Transvaal, and we fought very hard to get it to become a whole region or province. One of the things that is not recorded in history is that SANSCO was the first national liberation movement to declare Northern Transvaal or Limpopo a whole region or province. He always, any meeting or anywhere, he will raise not just in vacuum. Comrade Naledzani Mashapa will raise the class struggle. He will raise the working. He will raise the international workers' charter and everything, but more specifically the Cuban struggles, the plight of the Cuban people, because they were facing a giant, a smaller country as it is, but they were giants on their own. I then had the pleasure, when SASCO established the Department of International Relations, the first student movement to do it, I had the honor of being elected Secretary for International Relations. And I don't know what we were debating about outside the conference, and he said, must never ever forget about the Cuban Five. Unfortunately, Comrade Shakes, it looks like the world is forgetting about the Cuban Five because the US is relentless. But we know that the Cuban Five are like you, arrested in the US based on trumped up charges. They're just like you. They will not back down. And they will not sell out the people of Cuba. I remember other light moments. One was during NEC meetings, and when we debated and when we agreed, Comrade Naledzani Mashapa will never say, I agree with you. He will write you a note after you speak, and then the note will be written. You just spoke English. He must know that. That is his way of saying the matter has been resolved. I also remember when SASCO said we are not going to back down in our opposition to the Sunset Clause. We asked for a meeting with the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress led by Comrade Nelson Mandela. Then it was turned down. We went to the Youth League. We had a long discussion with the Youth League. I think Comrade Lulu, Comrade Peter, the late Comrade Peter, Comrade Mnyamezeli, Comrade Jerindo, and the others, Comrade Phoebe Potskitera, I think they recall we went to the head office and we discussed. And then after that, we went to the South African Communist Party and we met with a delegation led by Comrade Chris Hani. Comrade Chris Hani said, no, I just wanted to meet with you guys because I have a daughter who says she won't join SASCO because SASCO is full of palukas, but I don't see any palukas here today. I swear. Comrade Krisani said that. He said that my daughter said, I won't join SASCO. I think she was in Cape Town somewhere. She said because she said she will only join the Communist Party, and he said, no, you are going to do me a favor. I'm going to have lunch with you guys. She's your age and you're going to engage with her. It was not to be. But then he said, that's the reason I wanted to meet with you. Otherwise, I agree with SASCO's opposition to the Sunset Clause, or with SASCO's concerns to the Sunset Clause. And the last meeting was with the ANC delegation. Of course, Comrade President Nelson Mandela didn't last long in that meeting. But what happened in the meeting is that as we were talking, the ANC's head of political education, then Raymond Sadner, one that we used to give platform to all over tertiary institutions, I think he forgot himself, or I don't know why. He then said SASCO's input is academically shy. Comrades, you should have seen the hands from all other members of the delegation of SASCO. And then we all started talking because all of us didn't want Comrade Naledzani Mashapa to be the first to respond. I know you know why. Because he was going to respond in a manner that Comrade Raymond Sadna would never have forgotten. He was going to make sure I'm sure he was even going to end up demanding a retraction. But in the process of all what was happening with his, just like all of us, with his affliction, academic challenges, leading the organization, being the first Secretary General of the South African Youth Council, he did not forget, he did not say the struggle ends within South African borders. When our term of office ended and he became SASCO's president, I was then deployed to the United Nations, to South Africa's mission to the United Nations, where I became a diplomat. I must say, comrades, that the student movement's role, that in fact the struggle against, the international struggle against neocolonialism, or colonialism and neocolonialism, is highly underrated. We walked in there and we were not found wanting. We were not lost. Because when I was Secretary for International Relations, as internationalists who collaborated with a lot of organizations outside South Africa and outside Africa. Comrades, I'm trying to find words, to compose myself, but all I wanted to say was that this artist of the international art of the international revolution may be sleeping. His mortal remains may be sleeping. But his contribution, his ideas, his dedication will always precede him and will inspire more and more, just like him. Thus it may be seen that if imperialist domination has the vital need to practice cultural oppression, national liberation is necessarily an act of culture. I think this is Amilcar Cabral, yes. Something like that, yes, where he said, it may be seen that if imperialist domination has the vital need to practice cultural oppression, national liberation is necessarily an act of culture. This is much more important and pertinent in our country today, as yes, we support the struggle, we support everything, all efforts against illegal and undocumented people, including South Africans. Don't forget there are undocumented South Africans. there's identity fraud. But I'm saying as we support that struggle, today there are people who want to hijack that struggle to destabilize our country. And I'm 100% sure that without necessarily saying open the borders, depress South Africa with everyone's problems, as if we don't have our problems, I'm sure he would have said no to that. But I'm sure Comrade Naledzani Mashapa would not have supported the violence or the weaponization of such a cardinal, of such a sensitive, such a sensitive issue. Comrade Naledzani Mashapa, please rest in peace. I don't know where the comrades from the Netherlands student movement are today. I don't know where the comrades from the Cuban student movement are today. I know that Comrade Faisal Magdad at some point was the vice prime minister of Syria, and I think he's in Cuba now, but he's out of reach. Those are comrades that would have wanted to know that you have departed this gruesome earth that has been turned into hell by the imperialist forces. The world deserves to know about you, and the world is going to know about you. Amandla, comrades.
My name is Tendo Rachitanga. It is deeply poignant that we lay our brother to rest this week, exactly 50 years after the 1976 Soweto uprising, a seminal moment that ignited the fire he carried throughout his life. Ngare Sheikh's Mashapa was a revolutionary, mentor, an intellectual, and leader whose life was defined by a profound commitment to the liberation struggle, the student movement, and the radical pursuit of knowledge. As Lincoln Malley eloquently noted, he was a giant whose falling was heard in every village. He was not merely a student leader, but a leader who shaped generations of activists throughout his insistence on intellectual rigor and principled engagement. At a personal level, I am deeply hurt by Ngare's passing. When we shared one of our regular long-ranging phone chats just 2 months ago, I did not know it would be the last time I would hear his voice. As Chirizi Rachitanga, my brother and comrade, has beautifully captured, Ngare was the architect of our political awakening in the villages of Ngurumbi, Pipidi, and the surrounding areas of Venda. He roped us into the struggle personally. In 1994, he recruited me from COSAS to SASCO head office during his presidency, insisting with that familiar, motivating agency, "You must come and help us to organize the conference." What began as a mentorship grew over the years into a deep friendship and brotherhood. Our bond remained unbreakable until the very end. In a recent online debate, we spoke about an article he wrote about the national dialogue, where I agreed with him and said, I quote, "Ngare, your article is an important and thoughtful contribution to the national dialogue conversation. Reading it brought back memories of the values and ideals we both fought for during those years in the student movement, the belief that an engaged and conscious citizenry can transform society. You shaped much of my own thinking in those days, and I am grateful that I'm still learning from your wisdom. I share your conviction that a national dialogue is not only necessary, but also a vital expression of our participatory democracy. It is, as you rightly say, a citizen-centered exercise that calls on all of us to rise above narrow interests and act with the love for our nation. Close quote. It has been deeply inspiring to witness the outpouring of messages of condolences from so many comrades. Their tributes echo the depth of our collective loss. Mashapa's enduring legacy as a mentor, a teacher, a leader, and an intellectual lives on in us. I will forever be grateful for your presence in my life, and I will dearly miss you, my brother. To his dear wife, Bathu, daughter, Masana, and his beloved mother, Bodora, whose hospitality and meals provided us so much comfort, as well as his brother, Dr. Rendani, and sister, Mano, please find solace in the knowledge that Ngare has earned his rest. He lived a life of profound purpose, and the overwhelming outpouring of tributes from comrades across the country serves as a testament to the indelible mark he left on our nation. Niyadelenga mararo mkomana, hamba kahle mkonto, amandla, your loving brother, Tendo.